everybody and welcome to the Just Plain Nuts channel. This week's video is going to be a bit different to our usual Touchdown Sunday because, well, as you can see, I'm not at an active airfield. I am at an airfield, but not an active one. So, my most recent video from Manchester Airport from the 14th of November was the day my 300mm lens, the lens that I use primarily for recording, decided that it didn't want to be a lens anymore. It doesn't want to focus. It's, well, long story short, it's packed up. It's had enough. It's had its day. So now I am on the hunt for a new 300mm lens. So with that in mind, I do have another lens I could record with, but it's a bit too big for what I want to use it for. So I thought for this week I would re-record a video that I had recorded previously at Wisley Airfield. Now, the footage from that video I have lost because it is on my previous laptop, and I basically couldn't transfer the footage from my old laptop to my new laptop. So the footage is lost, and when my lens broke, I thought, well, what am I going to do for this week? I haven't got any footage for like the next couple of weeks. So I have ventured down to RAF Tangmere. I was hoping to re-record this at Wisley, but sadly Wisley Airfield is being redeveloped. The runway has been completely dug up, so there is absolutely no way that we can venture back onto Wisley now. So RAF Tangmere, which, as you can see behind me, this is the pan. This is where the aircraft would have parked when this was an operational RAF base. Over there, where the houses used to be, there used to be 3 hangars that were demolished, I think, in 2016. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. So this is the next best thing to Wisley, you know, walking around an abandoned RAF base. So this week's video is, as I said, is going to be a bit different because in this video we are going to be celebrating 10 years of Just Plain Nuts. And now I was hoping to get this out in the summer. Sadly, as I said, I lost the footage, so I can't. So with no footage for this week anyway, I thought this would be the perfect time to re-record the video and to tell the story of Just Plain Nuts. Like, where did it all begin? Like, how did I get into aviation? So that's what this video is all going to be. The story of Just Plain Nuts, what, you know, as I said, how I got into aviation, when it started, and things I want to do for the future. So let's begin the story, and for this we go back to 2011. So to begin the story of Just Plain Nuts, we have to go back to probably the late 1990s, early 2000s. So I was a child at this point. I was less than 10 years old, and every Saturday, me, my mum and my sisters, we would go to my nan and granddad's house, and they only lived 5 minutes around the corner from us. And my uncle, who was still living at home at the time, him and my other uncle, my uncles essentially got me into aviation. They grew up going to Farnborough in the 60s and the 70s and build like the Airfix kits and all that stuff, you know, that most av geeks do. So that's what really sparked my interest in aviation, because I remember specifically some of the aircraft that me and my uncle would talk about would be the SR-71 Blackbird, the F-4 Phantom, the Panavia Tornado, the Avro Vulcan. Those were the 4 aircraft that got me into aviation. And my dad is into buses and trains. He collects the Hornby sets, the die-cast models of buses, and that never took me. It was always aviation that took me. It was always like the noise and the sights and the smells that really got me. So yes, I got into aviation at quite a young age, and I've always been surrounded by it as well. Being from the south coast of England, there is a naval base down here, Portsmouth. Now, Portsmouth Naval Base used to host something called Navy Days, and it was essentially an open day where you could go into the harbour and you could board the ships, and there was air displays as well. There was stuff like helicopters and all sorts. And I remember specifically from when I was a kid that there was a formation down in Portsmouth at the mouth of the harbour. There is something called Spice Island, and I remember specifically there was a formation of 3 helicopters, a Lynx, a Sea King and a Wessex. And I also remember there being a Sea Harrier that I believe did a fly past or a display, and it roared overhead, and me being the little child that I was at the time, scared me to death. I cried. A bit ironic now at the age of 32, and I love the sound of a jet engine. So yeah, aviation, it's always surrounded me. I've always been surrounded by aviation, and it just grew. The interest in aviation just grew and grew and grew the older I got. But so that's how I got into aviation, through my uncles, like them going to Farnborough, building the model kits, going to see my nan and granddad every Saturday, and speaking to my uncle. My other uncle was, well, he invited me to Waddington in 2011, and that is where the story of Just Play Nuts really begins. I say begins in 2011, it more or less begins in 2006. I say 2006, probably late 2005, early 2006. So during this time, my uncle had told me about a documentary that was being aired. I think it was either on Channel 4 or Channel 5 here in the UK. And it was about the Airbus A380. It was called The World's Biggest Airliner Building the Airbus A380. And it showed the construction of the aircraft, it showed the first flight of the aircraft, and I really became obsessed. As a 13-year-old boy at the time, I became obsessed with the Airbus A380, and at that moment in time, or during that time, the Discovery Channel had like various different channels all dedicated to different things, and one of them was Discovery Wings. Now, Discovery Wings used to do a featurette on the Farnborough Air Show and the Royal International Air Tattoo, and it was their feature on the 2004 Farnborough Air Show that got me to my very first air show back in 2006. Now, prior to watching this feature, I had already watched the documentary on the Airbus A380. So again, I was obsessed. I was obsessed with this aircraft. And watching that feature on the 2004 Farnborough Air Show, I must say, there was a segment of it where there was an Airbus A340, I think it was the 600, that was doing the display, and also Virgin Atlantic featured in the show as well with one of their A340s, because I think they were like the first customer of it, I think. And so the narrator of the program, the narrator of the feature, he then came over and said, "We're hoping to welcome something bigger in 2006, as Airbus is due to bring the Airbus A380 to the show." Now, as soon as I heard this, and I remember specifically, I was sat on the sofa with my mum, and my dad was on the computer in the corner of the front room, and almost immediately, as soon as that was said, I spun around and I said to him, "Dad, where's Farnborough?" And Farnborough is in Hampshire. That's where I'm from. So it was close by. My dad had a look at had a look when it was in July of 2006. He had a look at, well, train tickets. They were cheap enough, so he booked us up for Farnborough. And I remember going to Farnborough, and again, I was 13 years old at the time, and I got on the train to Farnborough. And when you get off the train station when you get off the train at Farnborough and you get to the train station, when the show is on, there are shuttle buses that will take you from the station to the show itself. And I remember, sorry, the wind. And I remember being on that bus, and as we got close to the airfield, I remember seeing through the gap of some houses, there it was, airside of Farnborough, the Airbus A380. My dad had to calm me down because I got so excited to see the A380 that I jumped out of the seat on the bus and I was going, "Dad, there it is!" And that was my first proper air show, the Farnborough Air Show in 2006. So we skip forward 5 years to 2011. Now, after Farnborough 2006, it was really the only show that I ever actually really attended every couple of years. I'd go to Farnborough, went in 2008, went in 2010. I've been to every single Farnborough since 2006. But then in 2011, I started to expand on the air shows that I went to. See, one of my uncles was living in Lincoln at the time. And Lincoln is where RAF Waddington is. At the time, Waddington used to host an air show, the Waddington International Air Show, the first weekend of July every year. And he invited me to go in 2011. He says, "You can come up, you can stay, and we can go to the show, and then we'd come home on the Monday." And my dad had a Fujifilm camera that had been sitting in this drawer, in one of his drawers for, well, it would sit there until the next time we went to Farnborough, I suppose. And when I was invited to go to Waddington, he gave me the camera. He said, "There you go, mate, there's a camera, go take some, you can have it, and you can go take some photos." So that's really, so this is where the story of Just Play Nuts really does begin. I also just want to add this behind me. This is the control tower at RAF Tankman. As you can see at the moment, it is all closed off. I think this is because there is a group of people who want to restore this to its former glory. They want to restore it to how it was when this was an active RAF base. So if any of you are watching this, big thumbs up, and I wish you the best of luck for that. I really want to see this how it was when it was operational. Also, I want to add to this as well, my uncle, before this fencing was round it, he actually went up to the top of the tower, and he told me this story that it was a lovely summer's day, no wind, clear skies. When he got to the top, there was a cold breeze that suddenly came over the airfield, and this was a very active airfield during the Battle of Britain, being on the south coast. So maybe a Just Play Nuts Halloween video is in order, maybe? Let me know what you think. One thing I did forget to mention is prior to going to the Waddington Air Show in 2011, I used to collect magazines like Air Forces Monthly or Airplane magazine. And I know I keep saying it, but this is where my inspiration to get into photography started. So in one of I believe it was Aeroplane magazine that I was looking at the time. Now at the time I didn't really read, I just bought the magazines to look at the pictures. And one of the pictures that I saw was of a B-25 Mitchell in America. And the aircraft was banked like that, so you could see the whole top of the aircraft. And the air show that it was at must have been in the desert somewhere, because there was all these like desert rocky mountains in the background. And that photo got me into photography. That is what made me think this is something that I want to do. I want to take photos of aircraft. That's what I wanted to do. So, as I said, my dad had given me his Fujifilm camera, and that is really where my photography journey started. I went to the Waddington Air Show in 2011. All those photos are on the Just Plain Nuts Facebook page if you want to see them. Whilst we're here as well, this is one of the old runways here at Tangmere. Today this airfield is used to grow peppers, so yeah, not many aircraft here anymore at Tangmere. Got a lorry driver waving at me. So yeah, we get to 2011 and I took my first photos with this Fujifilm camera that I had. I had two Fujifilm cameras actually. Funny story, going to the last Waddington show back in 2014, I had packed my bag, I had a drink in there, a can of drink, and something must have split the can, because when I went back in the bag to get it, the whole bag was wet, including the Fujifilm camera. Now the drink that I had was a can of Monster, and it's basically, so if you own a Fujifilm camera, or you did own a Fujifilm camera, then you will know that to zoom in and out on those cameras, so the camera that I'm using at the moment is a Nikon D3300. The on and off switch for a Nikon, that was the zoom in and out on a Fujifilm, and that became really sticky. So when you're trying to take photos of aircraft and you think I've got the perfect frame or, you know, aperture or everything, no, the camera just wanted to carry on zooming out or zooming in. So I bought another Fujifilm camera back in, I think this was like 2014, 2015, and then eventually I upgraded to my current camera, my Nikon D3300. But this is when we fast forward to 2015. I was hoping to walk down here because it is actually one of the old taxiways here, or one of the taxiways here at RAF Tangmere, but there is a lot of traffic because this is sort of all farmland now, so there's a lot of traffic. So we're going to head back towards the tower, and our story reaches 2015. Now, with my photos, what I used to do was I used to post them onto my own personal Facebook account. And I'd get the odd like from like my mum or my sister, or, you know, just people that I knew, and I thought I didn't want to do that. I wanted to share my passion, you know, I wanted people to see my photos, to share the photos that I have taken at air shows, and, you know, it's for, you know, fellow av geeks and aviation enthusiasts to enjoy, you know, to see. So Just Plain Nuts was born, believe it or not, from a night out. And I remember I had made the decision already that I was going to create a Facebook page. I thought that's how other people do it. I remember seeing so many aviation pages where, you know, people just put their name and then aviation. And I didn't want to use my name. I didn't want to just put like my name / aviation. I wanted something that was my own idea, something that was going to give me my own identity on social media, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, Threads, YouTube. I wanted something that was going to be my own identity. So I decided to create a Facebook page, and for 2 weeks, as the truck goes by, And for 2 weeks I pondered on what to call my page. What was I going to name my Facebook page? 2 weeks later, on a night out, believe it or not, with friends, so I was 22 at the time, I was out with some friends, and I made a joke. Can't remember what that joke was, but they called me nuts for saying it. And I remember going to bed, when I got home, I remember going to bed, and I woke up the next morning, and it hit me. I thought, well, I've been called nuts, I'm into planes, just plain nuts. And that was it. As soon as I had the name, I was straight onto Facebook and I created my page. And that's when it was born, in July 2015. Just Plain Nuts was born. And the rest is, I know it's cliche to say, and the rest is history. But I basically just carried on. I carried on to, that's why once Just Plain Nuts was created, I just carried on. I just carried on creating, I say creating videos, I do, but I started taking photos at pretty much every single air show that I went to, and ever since then, ever since the birth of Just Plain Nuts, I've been to so many air shows. Shoreham, the Royal International Air Tattoo, the Air Day at Yeovilton, Waddington. There have been so many shows and so many museums since the birth of Just Plain Nuts. And that is what I've been doing pretty much for the past 10 years. I have been taking photos at various air shows and sharing them on the page. And I've had a few people comment on my photos and say that they're really good and everything, but I haven't had any featured in a magazine, which isn't my goal. My goal is to simply take photos and share memories, to share moments that I have captured at an air show, like an awesome moment, say, with a Eurofighter Typhoon at the Royal International Air Tattoo, or like an A320neo taking off from Gatwick in some beautiful sunset, or more recently, wide bodies at Manchester Airport. You know, these are all just moments that I want to share with everybody, with fellow aviation enthusiasts. And that has really just been my goal. And my goal for Just Plain Nuts is obviously to, you know, just to keep growing, to keep sharing memories, to keep sharing photos. And obviously the more people like my Facebook/Instagram page, the more people see them and the more people I get to share my moments with. But I also wanted to make YouTube videos as well. I didn't want Just Plain Nuts to be just aeroplane photos. I wanted it to be like plane spotting adventures as well. Now thankfully in 2020 I did pass my driving test, so getting around the country and going to airfields all around the country has been made easier due to that. But it's only this year that I have properly started doing YouTube, and we're going to get onto that now. So as I was saying in the previous clip, it wasn't until this year that I started to do YouTube properly, like weekly. So as I said, when I set up Just Plain Nuts, I wanted not just to take photos, I wanted to shoot videos. I had spent years prior watching so many videos from places such as Manchester Airport, for instance, from, you know, one of my latest videos, RAF Coningsby, you know, all these RAF bases, all these airports that I thought I'd like to do that. I'd like to just stand in a field somewhere and watch planes take off and land for hours on end, you know. So I did set up I did set up the YouTube channel around the same time as the Facebook page, and I thought to myself, you know, this is, you know, something I wanted to do. I wanted to post videos of like plane spotting from various different airfields all around the country. Now, as I said, in 2020 I passed my driving test, so thankfully plane spotting has become a bit easier. You know, I can now get to these places such as Manchester, such as Solent Airport Daedalus, my local, Southampton Airport, the departures at the Royal International Air Tattoo. You know, all these places that I have now been able to get to thanks to, you know, me passing my driving test. But despite me setting up the YouTube channel like 10 years ago, I never posted. It just got set up, and for some reason I completely forgot about it. I'm going to head back down this way because there is a bit of wind and there's a bit of cover, and that was it with my YouTube channel. It just sat there for quite some time with some 40-second videos that I posted about 8 years ago from the likes of Waddington and RAF Fairford. Just sat there doing nothing. And as I said, it was something that I wanted to do, but this is where the story takes a bit of a sad turn. So the story of the YouTube channel, as I said, takes a bit of a sad turn here, because on the 26th of July 2019 I met my soulmate. I met the person who I wanted to be with for the rest of my life. And we met, we instantly clicked, and we were friends for a couple of years, and we finally, after 2 years of waiting for her, we finally got together on the 2nd of April 2021, although we classed the 6th of April as our official anniversary date. And we spent 3.5 years making memories. She'd been plane spotting with me a few times as well. She'd come to the Royal International Air Tattoo with me in 2023. So if you follow me on Instagram, that's why anything you see from that year's RIAT, I will leave hashtag Holly's RIAT, because that was sadly the only one that she attended. And on the 17th of October 2024, I received a phone call that I never thought that I would receive, and that was that Holly had sadly passed away. And grief is a horrible thing. It has been, the only way I could describe it is a roller coaster ride. This past year, it has been, it's been really hard, but I found comfort again in aviation and YouTube. So in the January of this year, I went on a 3-day trip to Lincoln. As I said earlier in the video, my uncle used to live in Lincoln, and I used to go up and attend the Waddington Air Show when it was on. And I'd always wanted to explore Lincoln. And I'd also wanted to go to RAF Coningsby, because anyone who has been there will say that it's amazing. It is an incredible place. And I first went in January of 2024 to RAF Coningsby. I did shoot a little video, and I did put it up on the YouTube channel. I will leave a card at the top of the screen somewhere so that you guys can find a link so you guys can watch it if you so wish. And I went back in the January of 2025, so this year. And again, I did some recording from Coningsby. But when I got back, again, I didn't touch the YouTube channel for quite a long time. As you hear a train behind me, I didn't do anything again for 2 months with the YouTube channel. I made my videos from RAF Coningsby, I posted them up on the channel, and that was it. I didn't touch it anymore. I didn't touch it again. But as I said previously, this is where aviation and YouTube, you know, gave me a distraction. It gave me something to do to take my mind off of things, because as I said, grief is a horrible thing. Sorry. So I thought to myself, you know, when I was at work, I want to say at peace. I want to say that I was distracted. My mind was taken off of things. But on the days off, I just felt lost. I didn't know what to do with myself. And then one day in March, I decided, I sat there and I thought, I can't really go and spot from the places that I want to go to. RAF Coningsby, for instance. You know, these places are quite far from where I am. And then I remembered, there are 3 airfields that are close to me. Solent Airport, Daedalus, Southampton Airport, and Farnborough. Farnborough is only an hour's drive, well, 50-minute drive from me. So I decided that that's what I was going to do. Usually I only attend like 3 or 4 air shows a year. And I thought to myself, what am I going to do to keep myself occupied, distracted, you know, sort of stimulated, if you will? And that's when I decided that that's what I was going to do. Once or twice a week, I would venture out to local airfields nearby, or if I'm travelling somewhere, the camera is never far away. If I go on my travels, the camera is always with me. And I thought to myself, this is what I could do to keep myself sane a little bit, and that is post weekly videos on the YouTube channel. This was something I always wanted to do. As I said, I didn't want Just Play Nuts to be just about photography. I wanted it to also be like videos as well from various airfields, not just local, but airfields that I go to on my travels. And so that's what I started doing in the March of this year. I started posting weekly here on the Just Play Nuts YouTube channel. So I thought I'd come back down by the tower, because over on the taxiway there's just too much traffic coming from the nurseries over here. So we won't be going down that taxiway, so this is where I'm going to record the rest of the video from Tangmere Tower, because also it blocks the wind, and so there won't be as much wind noise for the rest of the video. But there you have it, everybody. That is the story of Just Play Nuts, how I got into aviation and what inspired me to take up photography. I am an amateur photographer. I will never claim to be a professional photographer. I didn't do a photography course. I didn't go to college, university to start photography. I just basically bought a camera and started taking photos. So what does the future look like for Just Play Nuts? What does the future hold? Well, I will carry on. I will be continuing Just Play Nuts. I will still take photos. I will still be posting weekly videos. I will say this though, there's a possibility that there may not be a video next week, because as I said, I am currently on the hunt for a 300mm lens, because the one that I currently have has decided to pack up, so I need a new one. But yeah, that's just a heads up to let you guys know that there's a possibility there may not be a video next week. But that, in terms of YouTube, that is what I plan to do. I just plan to keep on posting. Maybe the videos over the colder months may be a bit repetitive until the nicer weather comes back, because Solent Airport Dagless is my local airfield, living on the south coast. But when the weather is a bit like, say, like today, where it's a bit cloudy, there's a bit of drizzle in the air, there's a little bit of wind, you don't really get as many visiting aircraft because it's a general aviation airfield. Although I have heard rumours it's going commercial, so maybe business will pick up at Solent Airport. Maybe we will, maybe we will see some different types at Solent Airport Dagless. But the videos, as I said, over the colder months may become a bit repetitive. I may sort of interchange them weekly between Southampton and Farnborough, because with those airfields you are guaranteed to get some action. You're guaranteed to see some sort of movement from those airfields. Farnborough especially, because Farnborough is always busy. There's always something coming or going out of Farnborough, and Southampton only really becomes sort of busy around 2 o'clock. So that's the plan for the YouTube channel. In terms of the page itself and Instagram, for instance, I haven't really mentioned Instagram in this video, but what I will say is this, that I will continue to post photos, because now if it's a place that I go to, such as like the Air Tattoo departures, Solent Airport, Southampton, you know, I will take photos. Sometimes I take them just for a thumbnail, but sometimes I take them because I thought, you know, I'd quite like a photo of that, and I think it'd be nice to share. But that's what the future holds for Just Play Nuts. I will still continue to post videos. I will still continue to capture photos and share them with you all. Also, whilst we're here, in terms of YouTube, I did have a goal for 300 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you're watching this in the future, it was 2025. So I'm looking at a realistic target, because at the moment I am sitting at 195 subscribers. So I just wanted to basically say a more realistic target for myself is probably around the over 200 mark by year's end. So if you could subscribe to the channel, that would be absolutely amazing. And to all my subscribers at the moment, I just wanted to deliver this message, and that is, as I said earlier in the video, this channel that has existed for 10 years, and originally I started just posting 40-second videos from air shows and airports, and then I didn't touch it for 8 years until March this year, when I started posting regularly. When I started posting weekly, this channel, as I said, that I hadn't touched for 8 years, had 58 subscribers. Now 195 of you have subscribed to the channel. So to each and every one of you, and to everyone that subscribes in the future, I just want to say a massive thank you to each and every one of you for supporting the channel. It really, really, really does mean a lot, and I do want to grow the channel. I do want the channel to grow, and I want to continue to bring each and every one of you the best aviation content that I can give you guys. So I just want to say thank you. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you, to everybody over the past 10 years. You know, I know the Facebook page only has 163 people liking it, following it, only 195 people subscribe to the YouTube channel. Instagram, I have I think 864 followers on Instagram, but I get like probably sort of like 5 likes, which, you know, again isn't a lot, but I thank each and every one of you who supports me, regardless of what you follow me on, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. If you know, helping me out a lot. You really are, and I appreciate each and every one of you. So let's keep growing together. I will leave a link in the description to my Instagram and Facebook pages if you want to give them a follow as well, and check out my photos that I've taken over 10 years, or say probably about 14 years actually worth of photos. So again, thank you each and every one of you for supporting the channel, for supporting me. Please continue to support me. As I said, I'm looking at just getting to 200 subscribers by year's end, and maybe over. So if you could subscribe to the channel, that would be absolutely fantastic. I really do appreciate it, each and every one of you. And that's really it in terms of the Just Play Nuts side of the video, the story of Just Play Nuts. That's it. The future's still hot. The future, what I will do in the future, I don't know. I do plan on visiting RAF Brize Norton at some point before year's end. I really want to do that. I want to get back up to Gatwick at some point. But I will also continue to post from the local, Southern Airport Douglas, and Southampton Airport and Farnborough. You know, I will continue to post from those airfields. But as a final note, I just wanted to say that it's okay not to be okay. If you're feeling down, or you just want someone to talk to, reach out. You know, friends, family, you know, even I've had strangers come up to me and talk to me and ask about, you know, how I'm feeling. So I just wanted to say that, and you are enough. To anyone watching this, if your mind's telling you that you're not enough, you are, and this world is a better place with you in it. So I just wanted to say that as a final message. I do want to thank each and every one of you for watching this video, for subscribing to the channel. As for me, this is the end of the video. This is the story of Just Play Nuts, celebrating 10 years of Just Play Nuts. And maybe I'll see you in another 5 years when we celebrate the 15th anniversary, or another 10 years where we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Just Play Nuts. But for now, everybody, I just wanted to say a massive thank you again for subscribing to the channel, for supporting me. Big thumbs up to you all, thank you. And from me, Just Play Nuts, thank you. And I will see you in next week's Touchdown Sunday. Take care everybody, look after yourselves, and I will see you in the future. Take care.